Let's start into our day 2 of the ISPO Munich Online 2021. Sport is stronger and we are starting strong. Let's get inspired by founding member of the Sports Integrity Global Alliance, current member of the Center of Sports and Human Rights, and president and managing director of the Special Olympics Europe, Eurasia, David Evangelista. He's been a guest speaker at the United Nations and the European Union, and we are very honored to have him here at the ISPO. David, welcome. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me start by thanking ISPO and thanking all of you for the opportunity to serve as your keynote this morning. I'd like to spend this time focusing on the cross sections between sport and technology and the concept of ability that we have in our minds and our hearts. And I think after this presentation, I welcome questions, I welcome thoughts. I'm going to do my best to stay on time, and I know you have a very rich program, so I'm very happy to kick things off. The marketplace right now, the digital marketplace, the economic setting, the social setting, even the political setting is in full transition. The pandemic had with it, as you opened, a complete redefinition of sorts, of new trends, new ways of envisioning the future, even new ways of envisioning really the present. And this brings with it all of the different things that come with crisis and come with transition. Sometimes it can be lots of opportunities. Sometimes it can be quite uncomfortable. Most importantly, there's a lot of uncertainty. All of these things come together in a sweet spot, if you will, for sport and technology, especially when it focuses on, again, the concept of ability. And so I want to start by saying, now more than ever, the world is ready for new. When you look over the past 9 months of the world, or even 10, 11 months, it's clear that there have been new ways of conducting business. There's been new ways of communicating. There's been new ways of getting things done that are quite different from the way we did them even just 12 months ago. And so it's important for the marketplace to know that the world is ready for new in a way that they've never been before. And I think of this crisis, and I'm reminded by the quote from John F. Kennedy, the former president of the United States, when he says that when written in the Chinese characters of Mandarin, the word crisis is composed of two characters. One represents danger, and one represents risk. And when you bring them together, they create this term of crisis. And so it's important to keep in mind with this digital marketplace that the social context within which all of us are working, all of us are living, and all of us are trying to thrive, it represents to us a lot of risk, of course, because there's a lot of uncertainty. But underneath that risk is tremendous opportunity for those that are willing to think beyond all of the tradition, to think beyond all of the convention, and consider new ways to define differentiation. And so, which brings me to my next point, which is when you look at the relationship between the sports sector and the technology sector, I think those two sectors, more than anything, represent the demise of business as usual. No sport organization, no technology firm can even consider conducting business as usual. The marketplace is completely changed, and it will continue to change as the world understands more of this pandemic, as the world digests more of its results. And so it's important to keep in mind that any organization or company, in our opinion, that is conducting business as usual, it could spell its demise. And so this creates a fertile ground for innovation. It creates a fertile ground for creativity. And it really creates an opportunity to consider what new means to you. And so if you look at the studies over the past number of years, you can see that the millennials, youngest of our demographic, but even those perhaps in generations further, they actually really care about their consumer trends. They focus on what it is they engage in. They focus on where they spend their money, because in many ways that needs to connect with a principled purpose of theirs. This is quite new, and it's only growing, and we see this through all of the trends. In short, your organization, your company, your firm needs to be part of a larger purpose for it to speak deeper relevance to often the segments of the population that you're looking to attract. And this means that in today's marketplace, more than ever before, especially with the digitization, everything going to screens, everything going online, it's clear that as much as all of us need to worry about and focus on sales lines, your sales pitches, sales in general, the sales line has now become equal to your storyline. The world is hungry for not only what you sell, what you create, what you bring to the market, but also what you represent. Never before has that call to purpose been so pronounced over the past 12 months. And we've seen this in a number of ways. And so this sales versus story can be seen in the way sports clubs are operating, the way technology and industry are now pivoting in all of these ways. Which brings me to the crux of this presentation, and that is the biggest brand gamble in modern sports history. For any of you that know the movement of Special Olympics, you would know that it comes from a place of addressing deep injustices, celebrating sport, but also celebrating the rights of people who have often been denied those rights for centuries and centuries. But more importantly, it represents a brand gamble. Special Olympics is a global movement dedicated to supporting and empowering the rights and abilities of athletes with intellectual disabilities in over 190 nations. From the north to the south and the east to the west, Special Olympics is using the power of sport to empower individuals to gain access to healthcare, education, employment, social protection and safeguarding, and having their rightful place in their communities. How was it done? Well, in 1968, the sister of former President John F. Kennedy, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, created a movement called Special Olympics, taking a population almost invisible, downtrodden, discriminated against, heavily stigmatized. And she gave that population the most coveted, the most prolific, and the most esteemed title, Olympic. And thus was born the largest disability sports and health organization around the world. It was done through gamble. And I say that because similarly to 2020 and 2021, Special Olympics was born in 1968 in the United States, a time of great turmoil, a time of great crisis. And in that crisis came danger, but also opportunity. And so Eunice Kennedy Shriver seized that opportunity while recognizing the risks and ushered in a new era, one that represents one of the richest forms of human history in empowering a population often on the margins. And so when you enter Special Olympics, my call today is to consider Special Olympics as an example of how your company and your firm and your industry can align not only with a sales pitch, but a storyline, can align not only with a product, but a deep purpose. And when you consider the way that Special Olympics has really brought to the forefront so many opportunities to celebrate and highlight our movement and the athletes in the digital sphere. If you consider Special Olympics Italia in May of 2020, at the very beginning of this pandemic, celebrated the first ever Smart Games. Special Olympics Italia recognized that the athletes were not only showing perseverance and grit, but showing great smarts in staying safe and looking to ensure ways of staying fit. And so they brought together the first ever Special Olympics virtual games, rightfully titled Smart Games. A great innovation that brought together thousands of Special Olympic athletes, coaches, families, and the entire national sports sector, including the National Olympic Committee, national sport federations, and sponsors and partners across the country. And those games spawned so much more. The Special Olympics Belgium team, one of our leading teams like Italia, took the inspiration and implemented their own virtual games, bringing together, I believe, over 7,000 Special Olympic athletes across the country to demonstrate their skills, but also to highlight their personal commitment to overcoming this pandemic and staying fit, and most importantly, staying connected. What could be more important for populations most marginalized and most stigmatized than to stay connected online at a time when social proximity was virtually impossible? In addition, Special Olympics Europe Eurasia harnessed all of this important innovation from Special Olympics national organizations and brought forth a new digital campaign called Faces of Football, harnessing the power of the world's favorite sport in creating an opportunity for athletes around the region, from Iceland to Uzbekistan and from Cyprus to Portugal. We brought together thousands of Special Olympic athletes, but more importantly, youth, sponsors, families, partners, and all sorts of supporters, showing their skills and really showing their excitement for what they believe can be a new beginning for the relationship between sports and technology. In addition to all of that, there were opportunities for corporate leaders like Toyota, one of the most prolific brands in sport, to bring to the forefront their own message. I encourage all of you to look up The Life of Ella, a PSA offered by the company Toyota Europe Motor Group in partnership with LDV United, a great creative firm in Antwerp, Belgium. A remarkable video, short but powerful, and it speaks to the way in which even the pandemic cannot stop the power of sport. Even social restriction, the lack of social proximity, the uncertainty of a global health crisis cannot dilute the fever and excitement that Special Olympic athletes feel for their sport and for their friends and teams. Which brings me to my last point, which is many of you may not know that the population of people with intellectual disabilities in many regions around the world is now a consumer group. No longer are people with intellectual disabilities fully invisible. The movement of Special Olympics, together with so many more, have worked tirelessly for decades to ensure that this population is given the right to be at the table. And so through studies from Nielsen and other global leaders, it's clear that the population of people with intellectual disabilities is now a group that you can consider as part of your segmentation strategies. This is a group that you can consider as part of not only your sales line, but your storyline. This is a group you can consider in terms of redefining your purpose to the market. And why do I say that? The population of people with intellectual disabilities represents close to 250 million people around the world. And each one of those individuals is surrounded by 8 others. Each one of our athletes is surrounded by their mother, their father, their aunt or uncle, their grandparents, their siblings, their friends, their teachers, their coaches, their supporters, their teammates at the sports club. It has become, and through this brand gamble, it has become a segment of the population that could be the differentiation you've been looking for in redefining what new means to you in this new global marketplace. So how does this come to life? How can one capture the newness, innovation that comes in targeting this population and engaging this population through focus groups, through individual segment strategies, through sharing the thrill of sport and technology with a population often denied these opportunities? How does that happen? Well, you need to look no further then of course, here's a virtual highlight, virtual high five, yet another campaign that Special Olympics implemented. Here's our chairman, Dr. Timothy Shriver, with one of our athletes from Special Olympics Ireland, trying to stay connected at a time when social proximity is so difficult. It's a great highlight, hashtag virtual high five. It was a wonderful campaign. But how do we capture this? We capture this through the implementation of the 2023 Special Olympics World Summer Games in Berlin. The city of Berlin will bring together over 7,000 athletes with intellectual disabilities and their families and their supporters and their coaches, and the entire world will be coming to Berlin to celebrate the power of the human spirit. Here in this photo, you have the federal president of Germany, First Lady, with one of our athlete leaders, Nyasha from Special Olympics Zimbabwe, a tremendous young man who has overcome incredible odds to share his purpose, to share his message of what being different means and the power that comes in this differentiation. And so all of you, when you come out of this forum and you think about ways that this new marketplace can serve not only as potential risks, but also deep opportunities, look at the World Games of Special Olympics in Berlin in 2023. Look at the way that Special Olympics has used a platform like this in such a prolific, amazing city, a city that speaks to so much of what the world needs right now: unity, reconciliation, diversity, and celebrating everyone together. All you have to do is look at the news. All you have to do is look at the trends, and you can see that the world is in such economic and social and political division. Special Olympics, together with the sports and tech industries, can serve as the unifier. It can serve as the equalizer. And so it is our hope that all of you will consider aligning your purpose with the athletes of Special Olympics around the world, and consider what new means for you in this ever-changing marketplace. From all of us at Special Olympics, patching in from here in Vigo, Spain, I thank you very much. More than welcome to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David, for sharing your story with us. I would like to ask you, purpose, diversity, as you said, are topics that I feel have been growing so much in the past couple of years. What is your experience? Do you feel that there's more support and more interest, let's say, to 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
Absolutely. I'm consistently restless, and here in Special Olympics, we often move forward with a sense of sheer dissatisfaction, not because we're not doing great things or the world is not progressing, but because we know the true challenge of empowering a population so marginalized, so isolated. But indeed, so much has changed over the past 10 years. So many have recognized the power that comes from engaging in this platform, but also the power that comes in engaging a segment of the population often overlooked, their voice, their ideas, the way in which they view the marketplace. And now the world is awakening to the idea of they represent such a massive segment, and one that has so much residual impact of other segments of the population. And so when we look at corporate industry, philanthropy, academia, even the United Nations and national governments, so many have answered the call to action as evidence of a tremendous commitment from the country of Germany in the city of Berlin to welcome our World Games. I believe that this is the Special Olympics century. I believe that in many ways, this is the time that the world is waking up to the idea of different is the key. And in so much of, whether it's a Harvard Business Review or London School of Economics or any one of these incredible Chatham House thought leadership, different is often the key to success. And so I really believe that the world is seeing how empowering a population often seen as different is actually part of a recipe for success in this new market.
Thank you. And what do you feel would be the most important thing to change right now to generate even more support?
That's a great question. So people view this population or other marginalized populations as if somehow the onus or the burden falls on them. You know, the population of people with intellectual disabilities faces stigmatization and discrimination, not because of them, but because of us. We place those social restrictions. We place those inequalities and inequities. We place inadvertently, oftentimes, these barriers due to stereotypes that have been so misfounded. And so what needs to change is our own awakening, that people with intellectual disabilities, both on the field of play and in the field of life, bring tremendous contribution. They bring a clarity of thought that I think the world is in dire need of right now. And so what needs to change? We need to change. We need to consider that perhaps we've gotten it wrong, and this is our chance in a new environment to get it right. And I'm very confident, looking at the way the world is responding to the message and the example set by our athletes, that we're on the right track, but we're not satisfied. And we need to continuously do more, which is why the 2023 World Games in Berlin is such a tremendous opportunity to rewrite what needs to happen for a population long on the sidelines. They deserve their right to get out on the playing field of sport and on the playing field in this market.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time this morning and to kick off our morning with such an incredible and compelling story. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful week. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.